Hi everyone, welcome back again to my channel. My name is Osereme, and in today's video I'm going to be sharing with you guys how to go about the cutting of the pattern for the making of this beautiful blouse right here. It's a very simple corset ruched blouse. So if this is something you're interested in, keep on watching and let's get started with this video. So guys, like you've seen in the beginning of this video, these are the two fabrics that I'm going to be using to make this blouse. But today's video is going to be the pattern drafting, and in the next video I'm going to be sharing the sewing tutorial. So these are the two fabrics I'm going to be using. The red one is going to be for the cup, and then the blue will be for the body and for the sleeve. So you will need about 2 yards for the bigger part and then 1 yard for the smaller part. So first I'm going to go ahead and draw a straight line across my pattern paper to serve as the starting line for us to draft out the pattern for this blouse. So I'll label this line the shoulder line. So from the shoulder line, I am going to measure down to my bust point. For me, shoulder to bust point is 10 inches. Still leaving the taper at the top, I marked my shoulder to under bust at 13 inches, my shoulder to waist at 15 and a half, and then the length I want this blouse to be at 21 inches. Now I'm going to go ahead and draw straight lines across all these points. You know that you control me. Guilty self-affliction. Remember, this is the shoulder line, so this is the bust line. I'll label it here. The under bust line, UB, the waistline, and then lastly, I have the hemline. So now this area is going to be serving as the center, okay? So from the center here, I'm going to go in on the shoulder line by 3 inches for my neck width, and then I'll come down by 3 inches for my neck depth, just like you see me doing like this. And then I'm going to go ahead and join these 2 points together with my curved rule to give me a round neckline. So now after drawing the neckline from the center again, I'm going to go in by half of my shoulder measurement. Half of my shoulder measurement is 7. I marked it here. And then I'm going to come down from that point by 1 inch, which I just did. And from the point I came down by, I'm just going to connect a slant to meet the top of the neckline, just like you see me doing like this. So guys, once this is done, the next thing I'm going to do is to come down by my armhole depth. And how you determine your armhole depth is to divide your bust measurement by 6 and add 1.5 to whatever you get. So when I do that calculation, I get 7 inches. So from the shoulder slope, I marked 7 inches down. And at the 7 inches point, I'm going to go ahead and draw a straight line across as well. Now this new line is going to become my chest line. Pray on me when I'm lonely. Now I'm going to draw a straight line from the shoulder slope to meet the chest line. Now I'm going to get the midpoint between this new line I just drew across. So from here to the chest line, I'm going to divide what I have into 2 equal halves like this and make a point, like you see me doing like this. And from this point, I'm going to go in by ½ inch. Now I'm just trying to draft out a basic bodice pattern, okay? Now on the chest line, I'm going to go ahead and divide my bust measurement by 4 and use it to make a point here. So I'll mark it here. Now I'm going to be connecting all these 3 points to give me an armhole. So now on the bust line here, I'm going to go in by half of my nipple to nipple measurement, which is 3.5. I'll mark it on the bust line, under bust line, waistline, and also I'll mark it on the hemline. And I'm going to be using a straight ruler to connect all these points into one straight line. Now we're going to be taking in our dart on the waistline. So on the line that we just drew, I'll go out by ½ inch on both sides of the line for my dart. And then from this line here, this waistline, I'm going to come down by 4 inches. So I'm marking it here. So I'm going to be connecting all my darts. So I'll connect from the waist here to the top of the bust line. Here to the bust line, I'll do the same thing for the other side as well. Connect from here all the way to the bust line. And then from the waistline, I'll connect to the 4 inches I came down by towards the end. So I'll do the same thing for the other side as well. So guys, that's it for the dart. So the next thing we're going to do now is to come to the bust line here, and I'm going to be marking my bust measurement divided by 4. I'll mark it here, and then I'll come down to the waist. My waist measurement divided by 4, I'll mark it here, and then I'm going to measure my dart and replace it from the point I marked before. Then coming down to the hip, I'll mark my hip measurement divided by 4, and I'll mark it here. So now I'll be connecting all the last points to give me my body curve. So guys, this is all for the drafting out of the basic bodice pattern. So we're going to be changing this now to turn to our corset pattern. Now this is very easy. So from the under bust line here, I'm going to go up by 1 inch on the center. On the other side as well, I'll go up by 1 inch. So I went up by 1 inch on the center and 1 inch on the side. So I'm going to be connecting these 1 inches point to meet my dart legs on the under bust line, just like you see me doing like this. So connect it like this, and from the under bust line again where the dart ended, also connect to meet the 1 inch you came up by on the center, just like I'm doing like this. My marker was a little bit faint here. I had to look for the other marker after I was done with this, but I hope you guys can actually see what I'm doing here. So this is what I've done. I created a curve from the under bust line to meet the 1 inches point I came up by. So once this is done, the next thing you're going to go ahead and do now is from the chest line, you're going to go up by some inches. You can actually decide to maintain the chest line, but for me, I want it to be a little bit more covered than what the chest line will give me. So I went up by 1 inches from the chest line and I drew a straight line across. This is now going to be my new neckline. So now for the curved area of the front, what I'm going to do is on this side here, I'm going to go up by 1.5 inch, and I'm just going to go ahead and slant it into the body of the blouse, just like you see me doing like this. I decided to use my curved rule, so this is what I have. So now this is it. I'm going to use my marker to draw out the remaining part of the end where we are going to be using. And also I decided to use my marker to draw out the neckline so that it's more visible, just like you see me doing like this, and also the armhole and the sides as well. So this upper part is the cup and this is the body. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and cut this out. So from the new neckline I drew, so I'll cut out the neckline, cut out the end, cut out the sides as well. I'm not going to be cutting off the cup yet because I want to use this pattern to draft out the back before I'll go ahead and cut off the cup area of it. So guys, this is the front pattern we drafted before, right? I've not cut out the cup area yet just because I want to be able to use it to cut out the back so we don't have to be drafting a new pattern. So first, on this new piece of pattern paper I have here, I'm marking 1.5 inch from the center, and this 1.5 inch is going to be for my zipper allowance, so I used it to draw a straight line across. So now I'm going to be placing the front piece exactly on this zipper allowance line, just like you see me doing like this, and I'm going to go ahead and pin it in place. So once you're done pinning it down, you're going to trace the body of the front piece. So I'm tracing the upper part, that's the neckline. I will trace out the armhole as well. I will trace the other part of the body into the new piece of pattern paper, which is going to be serving as the back. So I decided to extend the neckline and the end into the zipper allowance area. And now you can go ahead and remove your pins and also remove the pattern paper. So this is what my pattern is looking like so far. So on the waist, I'm going to go ahead and draw a straight line into the side. Now the waist is actually very easy to spot because of the how it went in. So on the waist, I drew a straight line across into the zipper allowance area, and from the center back I came in by 1/2 inch. This is just for me to eliminate any form of bulginess that is going to happen later at the back of my blouse when I fix my zipper. So I'm going to slant this into the body of the blouse. I slant it upwards, and from this point again I would do the same thing towards the end. So this area here is going to be cut out. So this is the back pattern. I'm also going to be stitching down my darts on the back, but I'll do that on the actual fabric. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out this piece now, just like you see me doing like this. This is actually a very easy way for you to cut out your back pattern. So I just labeled it back. So this is the front and the back pattern. One thing I like to do is when I'm making ruched blouses, one thing I've noticed that sometimes the neckline is too wide. So I arranged the armhole of the front and back together, and I came in by 1 inch. So this is going to make the neckline not as wide as it would have been because it will reduce it by some inches. So from this 1 inch point, I just created a new armhole. I just used my curve to create this new armhole. and I am going to slant it out to just cut it out, and this is what I have. So yeah, this is basically it for the cutting out of the front and the back. Now I'm going to go ahead and work on the cup. So first I'm going to cut this curved area of the cup away. Now this under part is going to be the body of the corset part, which is the corset part in front. So I'm just going to tighten it up a little bit. From the end here, I'll come out by 1/4 of an inch on both sides. So 1/4 of an inch on both sides, like you see me doing like this. And I'm just going to connect it to the waist. It's very simple. I'll be using my marker here. I've gotten a new marker. You can see it's more visible. So I am joining them together to meet the waist like this. And I'll just extend from the waist to meet the top of the under bust line like this. So this is it for the end. I'm going to be folding the dart area out so that we don't have to bother ourselves with stitching our darts later. So I'm just folding out the dart part so that this will just remain as a one piece and I won't have to be joining it when I'm sewing. So I'm just folding the dart area out of the pattern, just like you see me doing like this, and I'm just going to use a sellotape to just hold it in place. So guys, now that we are done with the bottom part of the front, let's go ahead and work on the cup. Now for the cup, we are going to slash and spread the cup piece. So on this straight line here, I'm just going to be marking 1.5 inch distance from each point. So 1.5 inch, 1.5 inch till I get to the end. After this, I'm going to go ahead and draw straight lines across each point that I have here. And then I label them 1 to 6, and I'm going to be cutting on all the lines. So just like I'm doing like this, is very simple. Go ahead and cut on all the lines. So after this, I'm going to bring in another piece of pattern paper and draw a straight line across. I'll turn this over and I'll begin to arrange all the pieces according to their numbers. So I'm placing one, making sure that it's starting exactly on the line I draw across. And between 1 and 2, I'm going to be giving a distance of 1/2 inch. I'll mark it here. I don't want this cup area to be too full. The more inches you give, the more fuller it will be. So I'm just using 1/2 inch here. So when I'm marking a 1/2 inch point, I'll place a piece following the numbers that they have, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now for the fifth one, after placing number 5, you are going to not place number 6 exactly on the line. You're going to place number 6 close to number 5. This is because it's the armhole area and it's not supposed to be ruched. So once yours is arranged and it's looking like this, you can now go ahead and just trace out the whole cup into the new pattern paper and cut it out just like you see me doing like this. So now this is my cup and this is the body of the front, and this one right here is the back pattern. Remember, we're going to be stitching the dart for the back, but we'll be doing that on the actual fabric. So I'm going to go ahead now and use this pattern to cut out on my fabric. The body is going to be cut out in blue and then the cup will be cut out in red. So I am going to go ahead and fold my fabric into two. So I fold a piece of my blue fabric into two and I'll just go ahead and iron it out. Now on this folded edge here is where I'll be placing the front piece. Make sure that the center front is on the folded edge and then go ahead and pin it down. So once it's pinned down, I'm going to go ahead and add all my stitching allowances. So I'm going to be adding 1/2 inch all the way across the end, just like you see me doing like this. Okay, 1/2 inch all the way across this end. And then for the side, I'm going to be adding 1 inch. This is because we're going to be having a lining later. So I'll just add 1 inch here. You can use 1.5 inch for this side as well. And then for the top, I'll also be using 1/2 inch. So 1/2 inch at the top and bottom. Only the side is going to be having 1 inch. So once you're done marking all the allowances, you're just going to go ahead and cut on the lines that you have drawn out. So guys, that's all for the front. Now for the back, I also have my fabric folded into two. Now the back doesn't necessarily have to be placed on the folded edge because the back is going to be having an opening. All you need to do is to fold your fabric into two and just place your back pattern on it, pin it down, and you're going to also be adding your stitching allowances. So at the end, I'm going to be adding 1/2 inch just like I did in front, like you see me doing like this. And on the side, I'll be adding 1 inch just like we did on the front piece as well. On the top, which is the neckline area, I'm going to be adding half an inch, and on the center back I will add half an inch as well. So also on this piece, the only part that we are going to be adding 1 inch is on the side. So guys, I'm going to go ahead now and cut along the lines that I just drew out. So these are the front and the back patterns. Now for the cup, we are going to be cutting out our cup on the red fabric. I'll go ahead and remove all these tiny pieces so that we have our one piece in place. So again, you will need your to fold your fabric into two, which I've done here. Make sure you have enough allowances around your paper for you to be able to mark out your stitching allowances around the pattern paper as well. So I've gone ahead to pin this in place, and just like I did on all the other pieces, on the side here I'm going to be marking 1 inch. So this is the only part I'll be marking with 1 inch, and every other part I'm going to be marking half an inch all the way around.
I'm your willing victim. My friends already told me, but I don't wanna listen.
So guys, once you're done marking it out, you're also going to go ahead and cut along the lines that you have drawn out. And that's basically all for the cutting out of the cup area. And this right here is my back pattern. And this is the other part of the front that we're going to be ruching the cup into. So guys, in my next tutorial, I'm going to be showing you guys how to make this.